Voila, we are live.
Yes.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome, Andrea Mason. It's such an honor to have you on this platform for women empowerment, sharing ideas and inspiring stories and tips to empower women from around the world. Thank you for joining me and welcome.
Thank you so much. It's an honor and privilege, Doctor. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone here. Thank you for tuning in. And this is going to be an amazing segment. So thank you.
Absolutely. So I would like to introduce you, if I may. So Andrea is the global voice Mason. That's what she likes to call herself, and that's how she is known. She's an amazing woman with 2 decades of experience in personal development, in social work, and psychology. And Andrea is also certified as a global motivational speaker. So I am, and a coach. So I am so honored to have you. And she was under the mentorship of the one and only Mr. Les Brown.
Yes,
Wow.
absolutely.
How was it to be with him?
It was an amazing journey. I can't even, if I had to do it all over again, I'd do it a million times. It just
Really?
very down to earth gentleman. And it was just amazing because at that time, when I connected with Mr. Brown, was a time when what people say 2020. And I'd like to say, in hindsight, it was clarity because it was when the world shut down and the employer I was working for closed the doors. And I was just like, now what? What am I going to do? And I'm not really much on social media, as everyone can see, I really came to the full front
Mhm.
in 2020, fully exposed, transparent, and honest. But what happened was I was just thumbing through, just kind of figuring out what direction now. And all of a sudden on the feed of the social media was a video. Now, mind you, my family has started in 2015 to kind of unplug whatever we were investing, food, wealth, money, media, was all of our own choice. So we had began listening to positive motivational videos, whether it be audio or video. But to make a long story short, the world would shut down, and all of a sudden, I hear on my feed, "Are you going through it, or are you growing through it?"
Wow.
And at that moment
I
in
love that.
time, I decided to choose to press play, plan my life according to me, for
Uh-huh.
you, and I connected. And it was an amazing experience and journey. He today is very close to my heart, very amazing amazing gentleman, and I'm grateful to have him as my mentor.
That's wonderful.
Yes,
I love how you always say, whenever you write something, and I think that's amazing, big dreams can and do come true. And I
yes,
love that about you because you always write it as a reminder to everyone, really. I mean,
absolutely.
how does that resonate with you?
Well,
How you should tell me a bit, yeah.
yes, because we look at dreams as always being fantasy, something that may never happen, and it's these great expectations that we have when we're sleeping.
That's
But
true.
when I connected with Mr. Brown and he said, Andrea, dream big, 11 pounds, they didn't know now, but now they do now. They do now. And it was just amazing. It opened the door for me to be transparent and to take my losses and lessons and learn to listen and love and share it with the world. And we say, oh, I just dream one day, one day. But unfortunately, doctor, what happens is we put these dreams on these big, huge marquees
Hmm.
and feel like it's so impossible to achieve. And it's
That's true.
not. You take it step by step. And that's what I've learned upon my journey is taking it one step at a time, but altering my perspective. Because you could look at a cup half full or half empty.
True.
And whatever you determine will be your future, your present. And if we don't allow ourselves to face our past will continue to chase us. And it is truly important that we understand every single second, now, we have a choice to go
Hmm.
up, down, right, left, forward, or backward.
But isn't that very difficult sometimes to really let go of the past because it haunts you? It's like anything can remind you of the pain from it, or the tough experiences we all have gone through. I mean, our lives is full of challenges. How do you manage to kind of let go of it?
Well, it's a great question. I don't let go of it. I learn from it, because if I let go from it,
Mm-hmm.
I'm in a position where I can possibly have it again, because it's in my subconscious
True.
and I have not faced it. And
Mm-hmm.
that is what allowed me to excel in this industry, because prior to that, I had to have experience in the industries of social work and psychology.
Mm-hmm.
Social work, to understand the different lifestyles that people lead and what they learn from their morals, ethics, and backgrounds, and marry that with the psychology behind understanding the mind, the behaviors of individuals.
Mm-hmm.
I ask everyone right now for 3 seconds. Take
Yes.
a moment. Look where you were a year ago today, 6 months ago today, 3 weeks ago today, and yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Every single experience that you have experienced has brought you to this place.
True.
And when we look at it from hindsight with 2020 clarity,
Mm-hmm.
Steve Jobs says, connect the dot backwards so you understand where you are.
Yes,
Raised, of
so
course.
true. Yes.
And I look at my life. Yes, I've had trials and tribulations. I've had struggles, losses, and endeavors that I would not wish upon anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
But, Doctor, I wouldn't be here talking about the topics I have, the
Mm-hmm.
experiences, the stories, and the coaching and the lessons if I didn't understand and learn from it. I
I
went from being a victim to now becoming victorious, because I have unveiled myself to be completely vulnerable and transparent.
I love this. Oh my God, you said so many things. I love it. And what you said so well, and we often don't do that, is when we look back and say where we were a year ago, 6 months ago, 3 weeks ago, or just a week ago. And we
Yes,
often blame ourselves for not doing and going fast and doing things. But actually, when you look at it in reality, you have gone through a process.
yes.
It's ongoing process, and just appreciate that path, appreciate that road that is taking you to become a better person. I love that.
Absolutely.
So well expressed. And
And
it's true.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to add that it just takes, what does it take? I mean, maybe it takes you a few minutes, maybe 1 minute to just sit down with yourself and appreciate what you have gone through, what you have come, what you have become today. And
Right.
we
And
don't,
it goes with gratitude attitude, just taking 3 seconds. Oh my goodness,
yes,
I am still here.
yes.
I still have work to be done. But
Mm.
look what I've gone through. And when we take that split second driving in the car, waiting online for our coffee, or waiting for our children, or even just waiting to be in on air,
Mhm.
just take 3 seconds, deep sigh in and out, and just say, I'm still here. Look at what I've gone through. And I think that's what we have to remind our leaders, our mentors, our coaches, and all authoritative figures,
Mhm.
especially parents. I wouldn't be here if I didn't go through what I went through. And we have to understand sometimes the mistakes, missing that opportunity or not getting that position has said, well, I got something better for you.
Mhm.
And when we change and shift our perspective, that's when all happens.
Beautiful. So, shifting the perspective is basically being grateful for little
Yes,
things that you have, really,
yes, absolutely, absolutely.
because that's how you can really shift your vibration and attract more good things into your life.
Yes,
But
yes.
when you're lost in feeling that you don't have luck, only you attract only negative things, it gets very hard to be able to shift that.
Oh, absolutely. And what I'd love for people to do when they are lost,
Hmm.
when they are trapped, two things.
Yes.
First, immediate shift.
Taking notes because this is
Thinking,
very important. Yeah.
think of something that makes you happy,
Yeah.
whether it's a snack, a person,
Mm.
a memory. Take 1 second and just think of it. Close your eyes and just say,
Mm.
and
Very
if you
nice.
can't, I'll even cut it down even simpler. I mentioned this in another segment. Say happy. Because you
Happy.
can't say happy without smiling.
Yes, a good one.
You know?
So, everybody who's watching us, just say happy. This
Yes.
is a moment to raise your vibration. If you're watching us live, say
Mhm.
happy and write us something on the chat so that I can see you. If it's a replay, hashtag replay and say happy. I
Yes.
love that. Let's
Yes.
raise everybody's vibration to feel happy.
And I think that's what we forget. We are frequency beings, we are light beings. It's
Mm.
not the physical, it's not what we wear, it's not what we drive, it's not what we where we live. It's inside. And you have a choice to
Mhm.
be happy. We talked earlier about the blame game. How is that benefiting you?
Yeah.
Because, truth be told, as I teach personal freedom through the healing power of forgiveness and resiliency,
Uh-huh.
how is that benefiting you? Because 9 times out of 10, that individual, that circumstance, that incident is long gone. They're not even thinking about it.
That's true. That's
But
very true.
we
It's in
take,
the past.
yes, and we take the anchors, that baggage, that hurt, because somewhere, somehow in our subconscious mind, we have accepted and
Hmm.
given permission to someone that we should feel that way. We're deserving of feeling that way. Think
Wow.
about someone that you admire, a family
Hmm.
member, a coach, someone that you admire in the media, or even just someone in your hometown. What are the traits that attract you to that person? And what are the traits that reflect you from others?
Hmm.
Once you define those, that's who you become.
Yes. And okay, that's very good. So usually the traits that attract us to someone,
Mm-hmm.
it's very hard to really pinpoint them because they
Right.
have a whole attitude, right? And
Yes.
the attitude is just everything. It's the way they think, the way they feel, the way they act. And
Mm-hmm.
it's really hard to feel that, but you feel drawn sometimes. And that's what makes a difference between people who become a magnet, who become people you want to be around, you want to listen to. I
Right.
mean, what's your take on that? I mean, how can you describe that shift that someone can do to become like the person he admires or like the role model he's aspiring to be?
It is comes down to the question of, is this benefiting me and making me stronger?
Mm-hmm.
Because if, I've been a victim of bullying and abuse of every sort
Yeah.
throughout my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until I realized, am I deserving of this?
Mm-mm.
Is this what I want? Did I invite this to my life?
My life, yeah.
And when I realized that I was attracting people for the wrong reasons, just to be a people pleaser, to get attention, to seek knowledge from,
Wow.
kind of one of two ways: being
Mm.
taken advantage of or being neglected.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at what is your reasoning for being around such individuals, then seeing how they treat you, put your hand over your heart. Does this align with what I want for
Yeah.
myself and my loved ones? Is
Mm.
this how I want others to treat my loved ones or myself? Because honestly, we are still up and developing in this world to learn about self love.
Yes, exactly.
And what has happened is the stigmatism, the stamp that self love is selfish. And it's completely contradictory.
Yes.
When you
Very
can look in
nice.
the mirror
Mm-hmm.
and love yourself wholeheartedly, that's the true authenticity and what makes us unique and different from everybody
Absolutely.
else.
Very nicely. And it's true. And when you love yourself so much, it's like you have more love to give.
Yes.
And we often see people giving, 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 and all what you do is eating yourself up by
Mm.
giving so much outside that you find yourself hollow. You found yourself who's giving, who's feeding you, who is feeding that love back to you if it's not you.
Right.
And that's why self love is everything. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's important that we understand that and we teach it to others.
Yeah. Mm.
How do you self love if you've been a victim? How do you self love if you've been abused? How do you self love if you've been neglected?
By forgiving yourself.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
that's really take us to the a core point of this discussion today is really about resilience. We often say, to be successful, you need to be able to go through failure and stand back up, to go through struggle and stand back up, to go through problems and still stand back up. How do you express through your story resilience, and what gave you that resilience, and how did you strengthen it up when you needed it?
It's happened every segment of my life,
Wow.
starting at an early age.
Uh-huh.
I was born into the war torn drug zone era of its prime
Wow.
during the cartel in Colombia, South America.
Uh-huh.
My parents were unable to care for themselves, let alone anybody else. But they
Mm.
decided to sacrifice and put me up for adoption and send me to America. I
Wow.
came to America at 11 pounds at 11 months old. That's a pound per month.
Oh my God.
And I was welcomed with open arms and unconditional love of my parents,
Mm.
wealthy, healthy, and successful and loving. And they told me at the age of 7, when I was able to understand that I was adopted, that I was their treasure. Unbeknownst to me, every step forward was tragedy. Why? How could you understand and comprehend? Kids can be cruel, right? So during my upbringing years,
Yes.
it was Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. I felt like everybody understood everybody. But then we came to school, elementary.
Mm.
How could you not know your parents? How could your parents give you up at 11 months old? They didn't want you. Who else is going to?
Children can be very cruel.
Yes.
Yes.
And so I had to work.
Children can be very mean to each other. Mm.
Yes, I had to work 10 times harder just to get by in school to avoid being shoved into lockers, thrown into trash cans, because I looked different from everyone else. I sounded different. I looked even different from my parents.
Mm.
And you get this feeling of, I'm still looking for that missing piece in the puzzle. I want to be accepted. I want to be loved. I want to be heard.
Mm.
And when you go through that through stages of your life, I felt after a while, I started to believe in the false beliefs. I'm not worthy. I'm abandoned. I'm neglected. Only people that are going to love me is my adoptive parents.
Wow.
And when you don't learn to love yourself,
Mm.
then you become numb. Everyone you turn away from. My relationships were horrible. My connections, my family, my friends was horrible because I didn't have a self sense of identity. There was no photographs, even to this day, no medical records of my parents. So I
Wow.
was with a blank slate. And when I was trying to connect with people, to appease them, to connect with them, to join the club, I was
Right.
taken advantage of or left behind. And that is what I decided when I became going through the abuse and the neglect from my peers, sexual, physical, spiritual, emotional, mental, and then trying to fit in. That's when I decided I was going to go into the
Mm.
industries of social work and psychology to change that, to help people such as
To
myself
change.
through it.
I love that. And that's your why. And your why is so deep and powerful. Amazing.
And when I decided to go into those industries, I was still shunned because I went into the industries with a clean slate. I was going to talk to individuals in need as individuals, not as clients, not as homeless, not as orphans, not as drug addicts, murderers. And
Mm.
although I made a beautiful connection with each and every one, to this day I know most of their names, I was frowned upon by my peers and supervisors. You need to go in with this medical record for protection, this psychiatric evaluation, this assessment. I said, that's
Wow.
someone's mother, father, daughter,
Yes.
sister, or brother. And when it didn't change, and we're still working on educating the world about mental health, it
Hmm.
has nothing to do with intellect, but everything to do about the level of function and the heightened awareness of their chemical imbalance or experiences that they've been only exposed to, and
So
what
their
they've learned
background,
is all they've known. Yes,
their environment, how they grew up, and where
yeah,
they grew up.
their nature and nurturance. That's what it comes down to. Because the first 7 months of your life is your nature. The next 7 is your nurturance.
Hmm. So early.
Yes.
Seven
And
months.
yeah, it was around that time, give or take. But what I learned this year, well, yeah, this year,
Uh-huh.
the beginning of the year, we've had terrible thunder and lightning storms. And I didn't really understand. I was in a fetal position, always shaking, always nervous, until someone had brought it to my attention. What does it remind you of? I said, I don't know. That's what I'm trying to find out. They said, think about it. Lightning, lightning, thunder, you know, pouring rain. What does it sound like? And they brought it to my attention of explosions
Yes, when
in
you
the
were a
war
baby.
when I was a baby. And
Wow.
it's still, after all these years, I didn't understand it. Now that I'm aware of it, it still shuns me, but not as traumatic.
Because you understand, isn't that wow? This is so revealing because so the baby, before even knowing anything or talking, he absorbs everything around,
Absolutely.
everything.
When you
So
think about it during motherhood, I remember I just love music. Music is my
yeah,
savior because it's a universal language. You throw
sure.
anything from like classical to reggaeton, hip hop, whatever, it brings
Uh-huh.
you to the place.
Yes.
When I was, Planned Parenthood, I would always play music, and I would just see my body kind of move to it during the stages. And to this day, our son loves music. It's
Of course,
what's
because yeah,
nature. It's what's nature and nurturing. And think about it. What we feel, as the late great Mr. Bob Proctor says, if you can see it in the mind, you could hold it in your hand,
exactly.
even not by choice, subliminally.
Mhm.
And we must be tapped into that.
And
Absolutely.
that's why you need to focus to the good things and
Yes.
let go of whatever is hurtful.
And what I love, one of my mentors has brought this, kind of said this when I was working with her. It's like, is this helping you or harming you? And how severe can it be? Think about it. If you get into an argument with someone, is it
Yeah.
helping you or hurting you? Is it that severe, or are you dipping back into previous situations just
That's
to
the
kind
thing.
of do a domino effect for a win?
Yeah.
Not
Uh,
about competition, it's about listening and compromising.
yes. And it's not about reacting, but it is when you hear something you don't like, you respond. You
Yes,
have to learn how to not to react because when you react, it means it is triggering something in you
yes,
that you carry. I mean, and you just said, and what you discovered today in this call is that it's like 7 months, baby. I mean,
yes,
imagine we have no idea what was around us, around a baby when he's less than 7 months.
absolutely. And we also have to be mindful, even at the latter stages.
Mhm.
When we have these, oh, I remember when my mom or dad said this, question yourself and go to the source. Did they really say that? Because kids can fabricate and their imagination is at their highest.
Mhm. Mhm.
Did my mom really say that? Did my dad really say that? And I had a situation where somebody I connected with them only to realize, oh my goodness, they never said that. It
Wow.
was in my head, a
Imagine.
false belief.
Wow. So often we interpret things the way we want it.
Yes. And that is one I fell victim to several times again, because I have to cross check myself. Wait, is what I want to believe to win the argument, the situation, or the incident, or is it really what I believe? Or am I fabricating this to have a one up? And that's when we have to be mindful. Competition is so key, because the only competition you really have is the person in the mirror.
It's just you, and you focus on that.
Yes, because
Yeah.
if I start focusing on other individuals to make me happy,
Hmm.
I'm setting myself up for failure, for false
Oh yeah.
expectations. And we always say, "Well, you're making me mad. You're making me sad." No, take a second. I am creating that in my mind. And I remember, the moment that I had experienced that when my mother fell ill. And I
Mm.
was just like, how could you, like, I don't understand. How could she be sick? Why? Why would somebody do this to someone who has not a bad bone in their body? And I remember we were, celebrating my parents' birthday 2 weeks apart.
Mm.
And I said to my father, well, where are you? You guys are usually on time, because when we have a party, everybody has a party. Everybody shows up. And they are the type of individuals that they have friends from elementary school, nursery school.
Wow. Hmm.
And I had called my father. I said, okay, I can't do this anymore. I stink at lying, which is a great quality. I said, we have a lot of people here for your birthday. And he said, unfortunately, mom's not well. She won't be able to attend.
Mm.
5 minutes later, because it was local, he brings my mom in, and she sees everyone from her entire life celebrating their birthdays. And I remember sitting on her lap, and she's like, you know what? These are the cards that were dealt. I'm not going to get upset. I just have to play them out right. I could be here today, 10 years, 15 years, who knows? I'll
Mm.
never forget that moment, that Monday. I was working the late shift, and all of a sudden I heard the front door close, and I was just like, that's weird, you know? And I remember waking up. I said, what happened? You don't have work? Did day off? Confusion of schedule? I said, even and the dog didn't bark. And they stood there and just said, she's gone.
Mm.
And to be resilient, to talk about forgiveness, I didn't forgive myself, because I said, did I set my mother up for an early repast? For those of you who don't know, repast is a celebration of the individual's life after they pass.
And you had the party before, so you felt
Yes.
guilty.
Yes, for
Yes.
2 years, doctor. I went to her grave site, which is
Mm.
over an hour one way. Rain,
But it
sleet,
has
day,
nothing to do with you.
and my family member finally snapped it into me and said, she's not there anymore. She's here. She always will be.
She always be, yes.
And it just shows that the power of the mind is everything. It's a muscle, but what mind over matter really means, what's in your
Mm.
mind matters. And it wasn't until years later that I suppressed everything. I'm going back to work. My mom is, crossed over. It's fine. I'm just going right back to the grind. And I ended up in the hospital February 2016, over a week. I went
Mm.
to work, and then I fell ill. And next thing I know, I was reaching for my inhaler, and they said, okay, we're going to take you to the hospital to run some tests just to make sure everything's clean. Went home, went to sleep, got ready for the next day, and I got a call from the doctor. Andrea, we need you to come in. I said,
Mm.
no, I have school, I have work, I have family to tend to. Andrea, it's best. It's doctor's orders. Who's going to argue with a doctor, right? So I go in, and they said there was an oversight. One of
Mm.
the tests deems you class 5 diagnosis with myasthenia gravis.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
And I said, what?
Mm.
Next thing I know, I woke up in the ICU unit, hooked up to machines, unable to
Mm.
breathe, unable to use my limbs.
Mm.
And I remember my family saying, "You need to come home. You don't deserve to be there."
Yes.
And again, to the late great Mr. Proctor, I mentioned earlier in the segment, that we followed the law of attraction, The Secret. And spoiler alert, there was a medical excerpt. I
Mm.
followed it. Next day, the treatment team came in and said, "Look, we're doing everything we can, but the only way you can be clear discharge is if you eat on your own will, use your limbs, and maintain your own breathing." Well,
Mm.
team came in. I draped my feet over the hospital bed, jumped down, rode to the nurse's station, and back. And to this
Good.
day, February 23rd, 2016, to this very day, I have a
Mm.
clear bill of health.
Oh my God. I am so touched by your story and by your resilience and by believing
Yes,
in it's like by understanding that the mind has such a power and your body has such a healing power.
yes,
You need to be able to tap in it. And
yes.
it's only you who can do it.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. I like to give two analogies depending on the audience. So for the kids out there and the
Yeah.
younger generation, what happens when you're in a group and somebody says, "Well, I have to go to the bathroom." Well, now I have to go to the bathroom. Now I have to. It's a domino.
Everybody does the same. True. Yeah. Yeah.
And so what we think of or what we hear or want to relate, it will happen. It becomes
Yeah.
reality.
You attract it to your life.
Exactly. And then for the adults out there, think about this. You aspire to inspire and want to be like so and so.
Mm.
You tell me what the difference in time, mindset, and makeup makes you different from that individual. Alter it, accept it, but really we're all, and
Yes.
that's what we have to be mindful of. We are all
This is
human.
beautiful. What
Yes,
an amazing story. So inspiring. And so, it just gives hope and faith to everyone that don't ever give up. Carry
yes,
on no matter what. You can create a beautiful life when you believe and embrace whatever comes, not feel that it's against you. It's for you. It's to make you stronger. It's to make you grow.
yes. And as
Well,
women, we must learn to rise and unite, not conquer and divide.
yes,
Every time we conquer and divide, we are attributing and validating what being said about women.
true. And that's why, by sharing story, by helping each other, by growing together, by rising together, we
Yes,
can make a difference in the world. And that's what we just did. Thank you so much for being here. Your story would resonate with so many women and men also. I mean, this is about resilience and resilience to its highest level.
yes, absolutely.
Well done.
And I thank you
Beautiful.
for having
And
me.
I thank you. I'm going to leave all the links for everyone to meet Andrea. She's such an amazing lady, and I'm so honored to have you with us, to have you in our community. It's
Yes,
really nice to
absolutely.
listen to your beautiful story. Well
And
done.
as it is about everyone and it is about others, service to others, I welcome you and offer a complimentary coaching session with me.
Wow, that's so generous. I will leave the links in for everyone. Thank
Absolutely.
you, Andrea, for being here. Bye bye.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Have a wonderful evening.
You too.